It's a pleasure for me to welcome our next speaker, Imma Folch, who is responsible, well, I would say, who deals with everything which has to do with diversity, equity, inclusion at WorldCom. And what I've read in her bio is that she went through a change from being an engineer over marketing to people. And the topic of inclusion is so important nowadays. And the important question that I think she will answer is, well, if we invest in inclusion, diversity, equity, can we measure also what it brings to the organization and to the business? So I'm happy to give the floor to Imma Folch.
Hello and good morning from Barcelona. Today, I want to talk about the opportunities of promoting DI in our organizations. At this point, if we are all aware of DEI, most of organizations have it on the agenda, but what is in it for them in terms of business? No? So, um, first of all, let's talk about the concepts: diversity, equity, and inclusion, which you've all heard quite a lot, but it's always useful to remind what it is each of these three concepts. No? On the first place, diversity. Well, you've probably seen this slide before, but I really like it because it represents the three concepts quite visually and easy to understand. Diversity is all the ways in which we are different. We are all unique and we're all different from one another. So diversity is the group of all these differences together. Equity should not be confused with equality. Equality means treating everyone the same, while equity is treating everyone in a fair manner, since not everyone is at the same place when starting a career, when starting a job, and in any situation in life. So equity means giving exactly what each person needs to all reach to the same point. And inclusion, in fact, inclusion is a consequence of putting diversity and equity to work. If we have diversity and it's in an equitable environment, then we will get to inclusion, which has to do with the fact of us being of the sense of belonging, of having the power and the voice and decision making authority, of making our voices count, in other words. So we all tend to think when we talk about diversity, especially in organizations, what comes up to mind is gender, race, uh, cultural origin, nationality, and more or less that's about it. But there are many types of diversity, many constructors of diversity. Some of them are visible, some of them are invisible. So companies to foster a real diverse and equitable environment, they should also take into account others um, besides race, age, gender, sexual orientation, physical or mental abilities, such as education, family status, religion, socioeconomics. This would depend locally where you're based. Some constructors on diversity are more, let's say, are more significant, are more important than others. For example, family status in India would probably mean something totally different from family status in Norway, no? And it's something to take into consideration. So now that we all know, and I'm sure all our audience is well aware of diversity, equity, and inclusion concepts. Um, so if I'm an organization, should I embrace DEI path? Should DEI be part of my strategy? Is this just something that I have to take into account from a corporate social responsibility perspective? So let us think, what are the benefits of getting into the DI road and including DI as part of a strategy in your organization? Not something that it's owned by HR exclusively, but lens in which we manage all our organizations. Let's talk about the business case for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, in big sentences, big words, we would say that once organizations are in running the path of DEI, they'll see increased profitability, they will have a stronger governance, and they will become organizations which are better at problem solving, more resilient, and more effective. And I wanted to bring up to you this today the facts. Because when we talk about DEI, sometimes it might seem it's good intentions, good words, but from a business perspective, we need fact and data to prove that this is true. So let's talk. Let's start by profit. Um, there's a recent Boston, well, recent from 2017 Boston Consulting Group research that came out that those companies that have more diverse leadership teams, their revenue is 45% higher than the media, coming from innovation. That is, there are more innovative companies and they produce more revenue with this innovation, while the companies that are below average on diversity teams, their revenue is just 26%. So we can say that if you double your, you can say that if you introduce diversity in leadership, your incomes coming from innovation will practically double. So not only Boston Consulting Group has researched this, but we also have a very interesting report from McKinsey, which focuses more on gender and race, ethnical, culture. And McKinsey came up in 2018 that companies where their executive teams included more women, they were 21% more likely to outperform the median EBIT margin, and they will 27% have more economic profits than their market. So, including more women in executive teams bring up more profit and 20%. But moreover, companies with more ethnic or cultural diversity on their boards, they would 43% more likely experience higher profit than companies that do not have such a broad, diverse boards. So we've seen that profit backed up by different type of researches. We can correlate the diversity composition of leadership teams, boards, and management teams with profits, uh, innovation, and EBIT, and we'd see that the profit really increases when we become more diverse. So the second benefit that we obtain when putting DI and the strategy in the center of our strategies in the organizations is team building and performance. Diversity attracts more talent. If you're in we will see in a few slides, especially for the new generations, that if you foster a diverse environment, there's more diverse talent out there that were willing to be working in your organization. So if you put the diversity in a room, people that come from different backgrounds have a different view on life. They have different experiences, and they think different. This will lead to innovation, and as we've seen before, innovation generates more revenue, more profit. Also, our markets, I mean, organizations work for a market. Our markets are diverse. So if we as an organization are diverse, we resonate more with our customers or clients, which increases customer satisfaction. And satisfied customer would likely be better customers. So another research I want to show you today is Accenture. I'm naming the big guys. Did a research in 2020 analyzing the diversity in culture and boards. And this research shows that companies that have a higher diverse composition on their executive teams and boards will be 6 times more innovative than those that have a less diverse management team. So again, we can prove with data that diversity brings benefits from a business perspective. No? So the third out of the four benefits that I'm bringing up to you today, the third one is brand perception. Obviously, as I mentioned before, our market is diverse. And if our teams are diverse, it will resonate better with the market, and our brand will be perceived better by our potential customers. Mm. I'm not going to bore you with all these numbers, but again, this has been studied by Accenture, Russell Reyners, and Google and Ipsos. And in this case, I want to talk about the composition of the market. As my previous speaker also mentioned, millennials are probably the majority of decision makers right now, the majority of consumers out there, and Generation Z is entering and it's knocking at the door. And there's been a lot of research done of how millennials choose to spend their money and what do they believe in. And Accenture found out that 31% of millennials, that is 3 out of 10, they would rather choose a retailer that it's more diverse than one that it's not. So that's a point there for decision making, diversity. Russell Reyners showed, even this one is quite interesting, that 4 out of 6 customers would pay a 5% more if the retailer is committed to diversity. And again, we're talking about millennials and Generation Z. And what is more amazing, the research done by Google and Ipsos, is that 6 out of 10 people took some action, reacted to advertisement. Now we're talking about advertisement that seemed to be diverse or inclusive. So again, not only we will have higher profits, we will have more innovative teams, but our brand will be perceived in a more positive way. It will resonate better with our customers, clients in the market. And some brands, some companies already know this and are investing in this as part of their strategy. I want to bring a few examples. For Mattel, Mattel is a toy manufacturer. Mattel has recently launched a gender-neutral doll collection, which is called Creatable World, with the explanation that these dolls are not for girls, are not for boys, are for both of them, or are for none of them. They reflect the current composition of our society. These dolls don't have any feminine traits, no eyelashes, no big lips, no makeup, no breast. They don't have no masculine, like the Ken's broad shoulders. They're just dolls, gender neutral, and they come up with short and long hair so kids can make them look as they see themselves as they see their friends. So it's a big applause for Mattel. Another company that has broadened the audience of their campaigns is Gillette. Gillette is doing in the US a series of commercials targeting transgender teens. I encourage you to look at this online because it's very emotional and very true. No? Transgender's first shave. No? So 2 more examples that I want to bring to you. Peloton, probably you know the company if you're based in the US and in Germany, I believe. It's a company that manufactures gymnastic equipment, such as bicycles and so on, and offers online trainings, physical training. And recently this year, they just hired this gentleman, Long and Ulrich, to engage with people with different physical abilities or with physical disabilities as part of their customer base. And finally, I'd like to talk about Dove. Dove has been a pioneer in targeting diversity in their markets. They use real women. They don't use models. Not that models are not real women, but by that I mean that the woman they use, they are show the diversity in female bodies. And again, a big applause from Dove that I'm sure we all have a good brand perception of these four brands by doing what they do. So finally, and again, as our previous speaker was saying, we have to think about a future workforce. No? In all areas, talent is becoming more difficult to recruit and to retain. We see that Generation Z, this is a stronger generation that is uh, already in the work market, just following millennials' path. They're driven by not only by economic, social status, as and so on by previous generation, but they're driven by sense of belonging. They're driven by values. They're driven by the things they believe on. So again, I want to share some research. This is Price Waterhouse, and they recently did a research, well, in 2019, um, about how important are DI policies for millennials in Generation Z when choosing a job. And it comes out that 8 out of 10, almost 9 out of 10 female and 7 out of 10 males, this is something they look at when making a decision of working or not for or an organization. And another research done by Cantor and American Express show that 3 out of 4 millennials leaders will prefer to work with companies who share their values. So I want to showcase in this area Intel, because Intel is going beyond knowing the problems in recruiting and retention are specifically more serious in terms of technology. And when we look at gender, Intel is investing in girls that are in middle school, making attractive technology for them and empowering girls in STEAM careers. So they go beyond having a diverse and equitable and accessible recruitment strategies. They are really thinking about the future of workforce, and this is what we all should be thinking, given the situation. So to resume, we've talked about 4 benefits for DEI when it's thought about as strategic in organizations, which are profit, team building and performance, brand perception, and future workforce. So if DI is something we know we should be looking at in our strategy, now we have the facts after a few years of researching that it really there's a business case for DEI, and it would make not only the world a much with more justice, social justice, but our companies will thrive. Corporate social responsibility. It is true that some organizations up to now they've thought that the diversity is part of corporate social responsibility, or it goes beyond human resources, but lands again in the corporate social responsibility area and not as a strategy. So I just want to focus here that CSR tends to have benefits for our external communities, which is good, which is good at, and we will see we have to focus also on social responsibility of organizations as organizations are driving the changes in the world. But being initiatives DEI, being strategic in DEI, it focuses on the internal communities. So what is the best, where do we obtain the best benefits for our companies? Having an integrated approach both to DEI and CSR. If we invest in DEI in our organizations and also in our external communities, we will obtain for immediate results that are obvious. We will have more satisfied employees and proud to be working for who they work. They will be more loyal and more engaged. We will focus on culturally relevant programming initiatives for our companies, for the communities, and for the world itself, and it will turn out in a higher brand reputation. I want to share with you the words of Howard Schultz, which is, I believe now he's the interim Starbucks CEO. He's a very social responsible entrepreneur and leader. And after years of being the head of Starbucks and initiating quite a few, not only initiatives, but having the look of social responsibility when doing business, he comes up with the clear conclusion that companies, they should look at profitability in different ways, not only in money wise. So if we look at profitability from a corporate social responsibility lens, it will turn out that we will have more profits at the end of the day. So I'm not sure if I think I'm about to reach my 20 minutes. So just to finish, with all different organizations I've been spoken with and all the people I speak about introducing DI in their strategy, or let's say in other words, looking at their strategy from with a DI lens, everyone says yes, okay, but how do I start? Oh, well, is there a guideline? What are the first steps? So here I just want to leave you with this 10 takeaways that Pricewaterhouse learned when embracing and initiating their own diversity journey. And I think from all what I've read and what I've seen and what I've known, these 10 takeaways are key to know when you start your DI journey in your own organization, or where you start looking at things under the DI lens. I would add point number 0, which is, as a person, one has to um, know ourselves in terms of um, what we think, what we feel, and what we know. We have to listen, we have to learn, and we have to acknowledge our own biases, and we have to open our minds and really be willing to disrupt ourselves with beliefs and cultural backgrounds that might need to be adapted to our world today. No? So the first you have to do when you decide to embark in this journey is think about what diversity means for you and your organization, and how can that bring a benefit to your company in terms of business. There's no template, there's no something, follow the 10 steps and become a diverse organization. So there's no quick fix. What it's true is that leadership should drive this journey. If there's no commitment by leadership, there's not going to be any progress at the end of the day. As I show, there's data out there, so use data from your market. If there's no data in your market, run a research, partner with your competitors, with research studies and so on, but get data out there and use it for your program, which means set targets, intermediate and final objectives, work with data. And remember, especially for multinational companies, one size does not fit all. If you're very successful, for example, in the US with your diversity, equity, and inclusive programs, and you want to expand to other countries you might be in, for example, Italy, and you copy the exact program from the US to Italy, it's not going to work, because this has to be local. Your main objectives and angle might be global, but the implementation has to be local, and we have to take into account local culture. Again, this is not about doing a DEI strategy or a DEI program. It's about having a DI lens in all you do in your organizations. So somehow it should become part of your DNA. No? Have to start focusing from day one, looking at absolutely all programs, um, processes, departments, from recruiting to retention to product planning, um, communication, external, internal. From day one, focus on DEI and inclusion. Recognize performance over presence. This is very important. Some organizations might have the wrong idea that DEI means having a diverse team, full stop. No, that's a diverse photo. Nothing is going to happen if you don't work on having DEI programs and procedures and work toward an inclusive organization, meaning putting diversity to work. And of course, and the last point, the last takeaway from Pricewaterhouse House in this case, that it's valid for all of us, engage the masses. Every single person of your organization and your stakeholders and the market should know that your company is in the path of becoming a DEI organization. So I think we've reached the 20 minutes. So all can I say right now is thank you.